What's good, everyone, and welcome back to Kaya's Commentary. And if you're new here, welcome to Kaya's Commentary. This is a podcast that offers commentary on pop culture topics, real world issues, anything in between, maybe even some advice every now and then. Before we get down to it, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya R. Pennington, and you can follow Kaya's Commentary on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya's Commentary. Also, be sure to hit the follow/subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when new videos drop. With that, let's kick it into our first segment, Online Discourse, where I give my commentary on a piece of online discourse I've seen. Now, this happened about 2 weeks ago or so, but it is still kind of popping up on my FY pages, and so I'm going to talk about it. Treating celebrities like you own them and they owe you their time. So, songwriter Chapel Ronan recently made a video about how she has the right to turn down photos and whatnot if she's not always feeling it. And of course, it got those members of the public riled up. Oh, well, she shouldn't have chosen this profession then. Oh, she's not ready to be a celebrity. Oh, this, oh, that, all of that. Now, I believe that there should be a certain level of gratitude towards your fans because you really are kind of like making your coin based on how much they support and buy your stuff. So, certainly a level of gratitude. But Rona was talking about how people will like follow and stalk her and all of that. And y'all are just like, that's just how it is. Oh well. Do y'all hear yourselves? Like, do you hear what you just said? And it's so funny because y'all will say this, but in the same breath say stop idolizing celebrities, but then justify people stalking and walking all over their boundaries. No, that does not come with the territory. And a lot of us in the creative arts have a passion for it. Some seek out the fame, yeah, sure. But others just want to create, which then leads to a bigger audience. That doesn't give that audience the right to treat the celebrities or creators as commodities, as things to be enjoyed and not people with actual emotions. Y'all don't have the right to do that any more than y'all bosses have a right to treat y'all like successful commodities and overwork y'all. Y'all clock in and out, why can't they? They are not public servants to the point that y'all be like trying to act like they are. Like y'all be demanding more of celebrities and creatives sometimes more than y'all be demanding of your local politicians. That's wild. That's wild. And I will never understand y'all with these like thinking talking points because y'all would not want to be treated like that. Y'all would still want y'all time and boundaries and emotions validated and respected. It's not hard. It's not hard. And realizing how many adults lack empathy is wild. It's wild, made even more so by to me, made even more so to me because when the crazed fan then takes out the celebrity, then it's like, oh no, why didn't anyone take their fears seriously? Oh, we have to set boundaries. We have to create laws. They were always my favorite celeb. R.I.P. You should still be here. But then last week you was just calling them a woe is me crybaby bitch and saying, oh, mockingly, oh, how hard it must be to be rich and famous and a celeb. Ooh, woohoo. Like, I genuinely do not get it because it's not hard to have empathy. It's not. It's really not. I don't get how people act like it is. Like, it's not hard to sympathize. It's not hard to say, dang, I wouldn't want to be treated like that. I wouldn't want to be treated like a commodity. So I can't condone when, people do it to them because I wouldn't want to be treated like that. It's not hard. It's not hard. And a lot of people be like, you shouldn't even have to put yourself in someone else's shoes to understand. And that's true, but also at the very least, if you can't just not have, if you have to put yourself in someone's shoes to finally get it, but y'all can't even do that, like, it's not hard. And half y'all so caught up in y'all hyper independence that y'all can't fathom talking to y'all neighbor, even though y'all claim y'all want community, but somehow can't fathom how someone wouldn't always want strangers in their face when they're trying to get gas, or when they're trying to get a coffee, or when they're trying to do a quick shop. Be so for real. Be so for real. It does not come with the profession to the point that they have to deal with stalking. And y'all need help if y'all think so. Like, y'all need help if y'all think so. Like, it's one thing because celebrities, like, their voices kind of matter because, they are part of the public and they have more money and all that stuff. So I get kind of demanding a certain level of public speaking or whatever, what have you. But to this point that y'all be talking about, that y'all be dismissing rather, stalking and having their privacy completely invaded and their family's privacy is completely invaded, their friends, like, that's not normal. That's not okay. That doesn't come with the job. You need help if you think so. It's not hard to be empathetic. And it scares me that so many adults cannot fathom sympathy and empathy for others. Like, but I'm supposed to believe that y'all care about what's happening across seas, and you can't even fathom. Like, that's gonna lead to a whole other thing. But it's not hard to be empathetic, and I'm very much a you do owe people things. You owe people gratitude and basic human decency, which means not stalking them and respecting their boundaries when they say, "Hey, don't want to take a picture," but celebrities don't owe y'all that just because you claim to be a fan. Because if you were genuinely a fan, you would understand that, hey, they don't want to right now. Like Anthony Mackie, you as a fan should know not to approach him at something that's just on an everyday thing, like getting gas, not necessarily at a public event, because that's one thing, but just getting gas or a quick coffee. Like, you should know not to approach him. And if you do, you're clearly not a fan of his. Like, it's one thing when they're at public events and whatnot, but just everyday thing, they're humans too. Like, and that is what it is to not put a celebrity on a pedestal, to acknowledge that they are human as well, and you shouldn't be in their face just because you happen to see them. You should respect their no when they say no. With that, let's get into our next segment, What's on TV, where I give my commentary on a TV show I've seen. Today's show, ABC's 2014 Selfie. This is a show that I watched in 2014, back in the day. And I saw someone tweet about it some months ago, and they were talking about how they loved it. And I tweeted back, I was like, you know what? I can't tell you nothing about that show except it had John Cho and Karen Gillan in it. And I was sat religiously every Tuesday or Wednesday whenever it came on. That's all I can tell you about that show. So I was like, I used to watch that show. What happened to it? Why don't I remember anything from it? Let's see if we can find it. I managed to find it, and let's get into it. So, based on My Fair Lady, I've never really seen My Fair Lady. My aunt put it on once. We were chilling in the car as we were waiting on someone. So I was in the back seat and she was in the front. So she was playing it on her phone and I was doing whatever I was doing on my phone. So vaguely, but not anything to really know what it's about other than a man is trying to change a woman and then finds out, hey, you're a decent person all on your own. You don't need changing to the point that I was trying to change you. Let's be in love. Oversimplification, I'm sure. But based on My Fair Lady, Eliza Dooley is obsessed with her social media following and herself. So it starts off, she's on a plane full of her coworkers and she realizes her lover is married. So that plus the turbulence causes her to puke in two bagfuls, which she then wastes on herself. And I don't know how, because these are airplane bags, I'm assuming made specifically for puking. So I don't know how they would just randomly bust open, but they did. And so she got puke on herself and now she's virtually naked and has to do the walk of shame. So being laughed at online and then realizing that she has no friends makes her realize that she needs an image brand. And she has no friends. Like, she's texting her friends. She's like, hey, can you bring me some ginger ale? I don't feel good. And the friend that she's texting, it's like, oh, LOL, sucks to be you. Jeez, lady, what kind of people are you hanging with? Are you asking us for some ginger ale? So, enter Henry. A dinosaur, really. He hates everything about social media and is very judgmental of Eliza. When she asks for his help, he first turns her away, but she says, if you don't like me, change me. So he was like, you know what? You're right. So he gets to work. So he takes her to a company wedding. Their boss, I think his name is Sam, his daughter is getting married. And so he's like, hey, Henry, you're coming to my daughter's wedding? Cool, bring a date, because it's weird that you're alone. And Henry's like, I don't think it's that weird. He's like, no, it's weird. Bring a date. So enter Eliza. But Henry kind of low-key slut shames her, and I wish I had wrote down exactly what he said. It was a rhyming thing. Makeup should be light, not heavy. I don't know. It was some rhyming thing that I really should have wrote down, but it's just it speaks to his character in episode 1 anyway. But Eliza dresses down anyway with the help of her neighbor. At the wedding, Eliza gets uncomfortable. The bride's vows are out there. It's a rhyming thing, but it's a weird rhyme. But it also has Eliza thinking it back to when she was younger and not as attractive, quote unquote, and not really popular. People didn't ask her to dance. And people didn't pay her any attention. So she would do to avoid those feelings that she would get to playing on a device. She was in middle school in the 80s, so that device was 80s technology. Now it is her modern day phone. So that's what she does at the wedding. However, her phone was not on silent. So there's an embarrassing moment, and Henry scolds her, and Eliza claps back. He's like, you know what? You should have just been paying attention. Gosh, I can't believe you would do all of this. And Eliza's like, yo, don't think I don't know that I'm helping you out. You have no date to this wedding. Don't think that I didn't notice that. Um, she continues, and she's like, haven't you ever made a mistake? And he's like, yeah, when I agreed to help you. And so she claps back further, and she's like, you know what? You are a holier than thou, antisocial, judgmental, workaholic. Fair. Very fair. Henry calls Eliza a lost cause, and she storms off. So later in the week, Eliza has a real conversation with the receptionist, Charmonique. So earlier in the episode, he's trying to help her. He's like, hey, Charmonique greets everyone. Do you even know her name? Do you know anything about her? Have you ever had a real conversation with her? And so later that night, she's saying goodbye to her, and she sees her kid, and she's like, hey, you gonna let your mom get some sleep tonight? And Charmonique is like, no, he's not, but we're gonna put him on something and he's gonna go to sleep. And they just have a quick little conversation. And so Charmonique notes that, Henry is good with Eliza. Whatever he's doing is working. So Eliza goes to Henry's house, and she apologizes, and he apologizes as well. It then begins to rain, and earlier in the episode, he was like, do you have something that you connect with? And she's like, medium rain. What was it? Medium rain hitting the roof over a gutter. It's a nice vibing sound that she has on her rain app, which he shames her for. But, at the end of the episode, as it begins to rain, it's a moment that he gets it. He's like, hey, I hear the rain. I get it. I get it. And so she's like, no, I don't think you get it. And then she kind of pushes him into the rain, and they laugh it off. And that's obvious. That's episode 1, and that's clearly the building of a better understanding of each other. Episode 2, and Eliza opens Henry up to Facebook. She gets him addicted to Facebook. Henry tries to help Eliza with her relationship with the office hunk Freddie. She doesn't want to just be a booty call, rather she wants to have other things to do, and so does Henry. And so Henry's like, hey, find another hobby other than that. So this leads Eliza to her neighbor's book club, but that does not go well when they find out that Eliza has not read the book, so they kick her out. On Henry's end, he finds out how addictive Facebook can be, and he ends up stalking his ex despite Eliza's warnings not to. So he accidentally tags himself in one of her pictures and then has to go explain it to her. Eliza, she's been trying to avoid Freddie, but she's like, know what? If I go ahead and do be a booty call for Freddie this one time, then it'll prepare me to not be a booty call for him later. So she's on her way to go meet him, and she gets hit by a car and then falls down a manhole. If that's a clear sign, you don't need to be doing what you're trying to do. Henry goes to visit her in the hospital, but so does Freddie, simply to check on her. So it's not just about the sex for him. Episode 3. There are 13 episodes total, so I'll go through a quick summary of episodes. Sam, the boss, in a meeting gives the assignment of rating the coworker sitting next to you. So Henry gets a 9 from one of his coworkers, Larry. Eliza gets a 0 from one of her coworkers, Joan, who has a grudge against Eliza because she's always eating Joan's food. Henry then gives Eliza the assignment of befriending Joan, and so Eliza, with the help of Charmonique, stalks Joan's Yelp account, which is the only form of social media that Joan has, and it works at first, but when Joan finds out that Eliza stalked her, it goes downhill. Henry tries to shake Larry, who has latched onto him after his wife leaves him. Larry wants to do a flash mob to win his wife back, but Charmonique tells Henry that no, that's all Larry's done is flash mobs, and his wife does not appreciate it, which sucks for Henry because he has like 3 sets of suits that are tearaways now, courteous of Larry. So Henry talks to Larry, hey, just do something simple for your wife. And Larry ends up getting flowers for his wife, and that kind of breaks his attachment to Henry as he goes back to his wife. Episode 4, Eliza babysits Charmonique's son when Henry assigns her to do something nice for someone else instead of obsessing over her social media competition with her friend, who is really, they have this thing where it's like, oh, I have more followers than you, I have more followers than you, so they're clearly not friends. Eliza does both with the help of Kevin, Charmonique's son, so they Shamanique has this whole closet full of wigs, and it's like that is the goal. Honestly, that's the goal. But they get strobe lights, they put all the wigs out, and they taking pictures like they're having a party. And so Henry comes over to scold Eliza, but then realizes that's not at all what they was doing, and so they just have fun with Kevin. Charmonique goes to her high school reunion, wanting to reconnect with a former crush who is now a priest who shames Charmonique the whole night for having a child out of wedlock and all this stuff. Charmonique stands up for herself and walks away and goes to dance happily by herself. And so Charmonique definitely evolves from the character the character we see in episode 1, and I'm gonna come back to that. But we definitely like Charmonique through the episodes outside of one. Comedic storyline, Eliza ruined Charmonique's wigs, and so it's like 30 grand. I want my money. Episode 5 was a little hard to find, so all I can tell you is that Eliza and Henry are at a weekend work event, and they somehow get into it, and they end up apologizing with Henry literally rolling in on a white horse to apologize to Eliza. Like, I wish I could find that episode. All I can find is clips of it and not very good ones. So, episode 6, Henry seems especially uptight, and Eliza and Charmonique try to set him up on several dating sites. Eliza even tries to get Henry to be more flirty with her, and he does. Like, he does. She's like, women like it when you find excuses to touch them and you don't do that. And he's like, well, I don't like touching people for no reason. And she's like, I'm not talking about for no reason. I'm talking about a very specific reason. And he's like, you know what are we doing here? And I find that especially funny because Larry got into his head earlier in the episode, and he's like, yeah, I think Eliza kind of has the hots for you. And Henry's like, no way. And so here comes Eliza trying to get him to flirt with her, and he's like, what are we doing here? It's a very double entendre thing. And she's like, you know what? I spend the better half of my days taking orders from you, so now it's your turn. So lesson number 1, as I'm casually talking, find some way to randomly touch me. And then he like grabs her waist and pulls her very close to him. This had me going insane, bro. I had to put that on rewind like several times. I was like, oh my god. And there's a very awkward moment that could lead to romance, but they quickly brush that off. But it very quickly goes into, I don't need help, bro. I don't need help. I got it. Later at the meet and greet that Eliza and Charmonique have set up, Henry lets it be known that he does all right romantically and sexually. While leaving, he meets Julia, basically the female version of him, and that's the start of something. Comedically, Sam, again the boss, his son-in-law is not someone that he likes, and so he's very rude to him, but he's also trying to get the son-in-law, I think his name is Terrence, he's trying to get him angry, and so he's reasonably angry. He's like, what if I told you that you're not good enough for my daughter? And Terrence is like, we respectfully have to disagree. And Sam's like, I just told you you're not good enough for my daughter, and that's all you have to say to me? And he's like, oh, sir, I'm very mad, but we're never gonna see eye to eye on that. So, and it's like, you know what, the way you let people just talk all types of crap to you and you don't get hot-headed about it leads him into a promotion in customer service. Episode 8, Henry's birthday, but he hates it being celebrated. But Eliza wants him to celebrate because she is someone who grew up socially awkward, so her birthday was not celebrated a lot by friends because she didn't have any, so she wants him to celebrate. So she gets him tickets to his favorite band and then sets up an office-themed party at his house. Henry is having fun at the concert, but Julia, girlfriend, is not, and this leads to Henry lashing out at Eliza. He goes home and he's like, because Julia ends up leaving, Henry ends up leaving, and he goes back home and finds Eliza and all his co-workers at this office-themed party that any other time he would have enjoyed. He's like, no, I did not have fun, and I just can't believe I let you talk me into this. And Eliza claps back and tells him that, hey, you should be grateful that people want to celebrate your birthday, as she, again, is someone who knows what it's like when people don't. So now Henry feels like crap, even made more so when Julia comes and apologizes for lashing out at him because of her own discomfort. She was uncomfortable and he was letting loose, and it just made her even more uncomfortable, which then leads him to apologizing to Eliza and confessing that he actually did have really fun at the concert. So it's like, how are you lashing out for me? Because anyway, episode 9. Eliza has a good marketing idea, and Henry encourages her to follow through on it, leading her to work through the night for the first time ever. Henry insults one of Eliza's neighbor's friends. I think her name is Wren. Bren and Wren. And so now he has to apologize. Freddie and Eliza are getting more serious when he invites her to meet his parents. Eliza agrees, but realizing that Henry's method of putting the phone down works, it leads her to pay a little bit more attention to Freddie and the way he laughs and the way he eats. And it's like, you know what? That's kind of aggravating. So at this dinner with his parents, she's like, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta go. So she's back at her apartment and she meets Henry at the elevator. As she's coming in, he's coming out after apologizing to Ren. She realizes that she freaked on Freddie because she may have feelings for Henry, and she tells him so by exposing her body. She had on a jacket of his suit jacket, and she styled it in a way that's a little bit of him, a little bit of her. And so she drops it, and he's like panicking. He's like, oh, okay. He's trying to look every which way but her. Episode 10, Henry is freaking out by Eliza's confession and goes to HR. It's a tiny joke about, how many office relationships she has had. So now all you have to do is fill out this little slip and it's all good. You're good to go. Henry is trying to work through his own feelings and Eliza is trying to get him to confess, but does decide to give him a little bit of time. It's been a day and Eliza tries to get advice from Bren and Charmonique, which does not go well. I'm going to come back to that. There is an annual office karaoke party, and Henry decides to go for it with Eliza, but he talks himself out of it after a conversation with a drunk and disheartened Freddie. He's really taking their breakup hard. Like he's like, hey, I can't do my beauty, my skincare, any of that without you. I need you in my life. Please don't leave me. And she's like, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. And he's like, we can still have sex though. The way they treat Freddie is kind of like, it's weird in a way, and I'm gonna try to remember to come back to that. He's very disheartened, and so at the karaoke party he sings she's a man eater. And so upon confrontation by Eliza's like, hey, you come to your conclusion. Henry tells her that she doesn't have feelings for him, but that she's scared of a committed relationship with Freddie, and that's why she's now going after Henry. Eliza is incredibly insulted and claps back, telling him that she's not afraid of a committed relationship and that he is the one that's afraid, and that's why he's stuck in a relationship with Julia, who he's very much bored with. And Julia overhears this. And so she storms off. Henry, instead of going to find Julia, finds Eliza, and she begs him to confess his feelings, but he tells her that Julia is waiting for him, and so he then leaves. Eliza, heartbroken, picks up her party girl ways again, leading her to fall in bed with Freddie. Henry, still at the party, is regretful about lying to Eliza about his feelings. Episode 11. There is awkward tension between Eliza and Henry, made even more so when he gets a bad office review thinking that it's Eliza. But after Eliza's reckless spending leads her to being evicted, Henry offers her his place and his help with her budgeting, and they reconcile. Eliza makes mention that the poor comment he got is something that his assistant often calls him, and that's how we find out the poor review came from said assistant. This lets me know that there is no DVD version or physical version of this, but somewhere there had to be, because Henry's like, that little like he says it. He's like, that little sugar honey iced tea. He says it. There's no bleep. When they have these comical things in these sitcoms, they'll bleep it out. That lets me know somewhere there's a physical copy that was meant to be somewhere. Also, Eliza finds out that Henry and Julia are broken up, but she and Freddie are giving their serious relationship another go. But she also brings up a point that's like, hey, I was being evicted, I'm staying in all these hotels, and you were staying there with me. Why didn't you let me stay with you? Fair question. But then he's like, well, I didn't want to scare you off with anything serious again. Because he thinks that she got scared by meeting his parents, and that's why she ran away. So I guess that's supposed to be a genuine accepted answer, because she accepted it. Episode 12, there's a rivalry all around between Eliza and her sister, though it's more on Eliza's side, and Henry and Freddie during the office annual charity event. The event, which is normally a 10K run in Henry's forte, is now an obstacle mud run in Freddie's forte. But due to their fighting, Charmonique wins it. Henry and Freddie relent a little on their rivalry, and so does Eliza and her sister. Also, I think this is the episode where, Eliza and Freddie, they're still very serious, and so she goes to give an air kiss to Freddie, and both him and Henry catches it, and it's like, Henry, why would she be blowing you an air kiss? Be serious. Episode 13. Eliza misses the annual women role model meeting, and Henry assigns her to find one. This leads Eliza to her middle school bully, of all people, but that quickly falls apart when she realizes the bully has rewritten all of her bully stories so that it happened to her, the bully, and not to Eliza. So she's also selling a very successful book based off these lies. Henry also confronts his own younger self and his regrets in skateboarding. He used to tell people that he was a skateboarder to seem cool, but he never actually did it. And so he challenges himself to like actually take it up, and it does not go well. He ends up breaking his arm, but he tried. He tried. Eliza begins to accept her younger, awkward self, and she cuts her hair to the same length that it was in that time. She dons her glasses. Freddie comes in and immediately accepts her. He's like, yo, okay, I see you rocking with this look. She cut out her yearbook picture and put it on the mirror. And he takes the picture and he's like, yo, what's her deal? What's she into? Backstreet Boys and Furby. You think she would love it if like a cute boy kind of took her to a concert? And she's like, I'm pretty sure she would crap her pants. And he's like, well, she better bring an extra change of pants. Like he immediately accepts it. He accepts it. Henry reflects on all that he and Eliza had been through and realizes that he now has the courage to tell Eliza of his feelings for her. And that's it. Because then it got canceled. It actually got canceled at like episode 7, but it grew a strong fan base that it was able to be saved via Hulu for the other 6 episodes. I also found out that it was supposed to have at least 26 episodes, and now I'll never know peace. I'll never get over that. Because I hate that we will never know the rest of Henry and Eliza's stories, because they were clearly setting up for something more. Honestly, it gives the same goofiness that Gallivant did, and that got 2 seasons. They clearly were not prepared for that second season, but they did. And I just feel like shows, especially now with cancellations everywhere, I feel like shows should be guaranteed at least 2 seasons. And even a show finding its footing after season 2 can still be hard, especially with limited episodes, but it is possible. Especially if they had let it run to the 26th episode. I definitely feel like, at least a guaranteed 2 seasons to find its footing. Now, admittedly, episode 1 was a little rough. It moves so fast in the plot. Like, they get right to it about the imagery brand. But then again, you only have like 20 minutes, so yeah. But also, Henry is not likable when first introduced. Not to me. Eliza, you get her backstory. She's a narrator of the show. So you get her backstory, and it kind of makes up for her semi-self-obsession. Henry bitches and moans about social media and the internet from the get-go. He literally is a dinosaur, which is strange considering he works in marketing, a business that advances with the age, with the decade, with the technology. Eliza is like, they have in episode 1, they have this line. Eliza's like, I know you don't like me. He's like, I don't like you. The only comedic part about that is that she's like, when I was standing there with all that barf on me, it made me think. And he's like, think what? I genuinely want to know. And that made me laugh a little. But also, like, the whole I don't like you, I don't know. It feels a little undeserved considering the speed of the episode. I don't mind them jumping right into the incident and then the rebrand instead of spending like a whole episode on her being self-absorbed. But I just feel like his dislike of her felt too much into the like judgment before you even know her. Like, they never had an interaction, and he hears mention of her for the first time on the plane and then immediately goes in. Like, I get that's the point, My Fair Lady and all that, but I don't know, have some interaction to base your judgment on, because he just came off as a slut-shaming dick at first. Like, I can't hold you. He was not likable. Like, as the episode went on, like, towards the very end of the episode, when he finally gets it, it evened out, setting up for a better episode 2. But if you had canceled it based on episode 1, I kind of would have understood, because yikes. Something else I disliked was Charmonique at the start of the show. He's like, hey, do you even know Charmonique's name? Charmonique speaks to you every day, do you not? And she's like, I speak to everybody. You speak to who? Later in the episode, she's like, whatever you doing with Mr. Man is working. Okay. She evens out as the episodes go on. I do like her as a character. But she said that, and my smile immediately dropped. I was like, really? In 2014? But then I had to think about all the drama um, relating to diversity and diverse characters and actors from the last show John Cho was on. And I was like, actually, nah, that tracks. The last show being Sleepy Hollow. Everything on this page comes back to Sleepy Hollow. I can't say that's not why I picked up the show. I think I might have went into the show because he was on Sleepy Hollow and then he was there. I don't know because I cannot tell you what drew me to the show. I can't because I didn't even remember anything from the premise of it outside of John Cho and Karen Gillan. Like I cannot tell you. It had to be him because I don't even remember it getting canceled halfway through. So, but all the drama revolving around diversity and actors of color and black actors, that tracks. That tracks. Also, Shamanique and Bryn's fight was comical, but also, dare I say, racially charged. Walk with me. Walk with me. Shamanique tells Eliza, she's trying to give Eliza advice because Eliza is disheartened that it's been a whole day and Henry hasn't told her about his feelings. And she's like, you know what? Burn his house down. And Eliza's like, would that not, like, what if he does have feelings for me? Would that not, like, mess up our relationship? And Shamanique's like, no, not necessarily. And they're in Eliza's washing room in their apartment, the apartment's laundry room rather. And Bryn comes in. She's like, "That's terrible advice. We haven't met, but that is terrible advice." And Shamanique is like, "Oh, well, do you have a man?" And Bryn is like, "I have a male cat. Do you have a man?" And Shamanique starts laughing. That just she should have known she was in danger when Shamanique started laughing. That leads to their first altercation. And then they end up cutscene. They are in Bryn's apartment, and she's like, "So it's been a full day, and he hasn't talked to you. You know what I would do? I would stalk him and wiretap his mom's phone, and then break into all his computers and stuff." And Shamanique is with it. She's like, "Yeah, Henry 69. That's Henry's password." She's like, "Yeah, let's get in." And it's all good, but and she doesn't even say that really loudly, like yelling. She's just like, it's like, "Hey, I rock with it. Yeah, let's get it." But Bryn is like, "Bitch, don't get loud in my house." Um, that starts another fight. And now they're sitting on the couch together. Cutscene, they're sitting on the couch together, and Shamanique's like, she looks stronger than she looked. They both have bruises. And Bren is like, yeah, it's a tactic so that, men don't approach me. And Shamanique is like, and yet they never do. Leading to their third altercation where Bren tackles Shamanique. Um, but we rooting for Shamanique. Bren might have got her little hits in, but Shamanique came out on top. Because why did Bren feel the need to butt in only to say the same thing as Shamanique? The fight was funny, but also, like I said, I certainly hope Shamanique came out on top because something about that was just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Another thing that had me just, what are you talking about? Was Eliza and Henry's dynamic. I liked it mostly, but also, how much of an age difference was there? I think Gillen was actually in her late 20s and Cho was like in his late 30s. His birthday episode, he's turning 40. But the way it's set up, you think he's super older than her. Again, I know that's the point of My Fair Lady, and when they were originally doing casting for this show, they wanted an English gent who was super older than her to like drive the point home, but then they decided to do colorblind casting, which I'm gonna come back to, which I feel is great. But it low-key gave to me like 90s millennial versus early Gen Z, and like 90s millennials are like, oh, you guys are just so different from us. You're just so different. It's like, bro, we grew up on the same programming. Because like Eliza was in middle school in the 80s. There's a whole generation that is completely digital and gonna know nothing about analog and any of that. But she's not a part of that. Even I'm not a part of that. I remember analog TV and VHS tapes and box TVs and computers and computer laptops with CD discs in them, CD compartments in them, and big CD radio players. Like there might be an age difference, but it's not as far as they were making out to be. And I just find that a little weirdly funny because, like, would that still pass today? Considering that we are at this point where, like, age differences matter a lot today. Would a My Fair Lady, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, why are you trying to date somebody that's clearly not? I didn't have a problem with it. I just found it weirdly funny because it's like they're not that far. Like she knows analog as well as you do. It's just that you might have been in middle school in the 70s. Anyway, I also like the push for colorblind casting, especially with John Cho, way to show that Asian men can be romantically and sexually desired. Like episode 6, I feel indirectly says that, and I say indirectly because they don't just flat out say, hey, as an Asian man, I get play. But they do make it known that, hey, he's love interest, he's in go, and he gets play. He gets play. He does all right. He says that. I do all right. And then episode 6 with the waist grabbing of Eliza, that just had me like kicking my feet up, giggling. I was like, ooh, ooh, running on a white horse and all of that. Like, it just had me. I love it. I love it. I will say this though, to have Henry and Eliza be and go, they sure didn't put any effort into breaking her and Freddie up. And honestly, I kind of like that. To me, that means that they were setting up for a really good love triangle. Because Freddie was devastated when Eliza broke up with him. And they do, like I said, they have moments where it's like, oh, he's just this office hunk who's obsessed with like how they look as a couple. Because he's like, okay, can we still have sex after the breakup? Or like him not inviting Eliza to stay with him. But then it's like, well, I don't want to scare you off with the seriousness. Or I really missed you. Please, can we get back together? I want to make the seriousness work. And it comes off as super genuine. And then his immediate acceptance to nerdy Eliza, like Freddie was in it for the long haul. And honestly, at least he knew what he wanted. Like of the two, Henry and Freddie, Henry, not even just because of age, might be better because he's around her same age and knows what he wants. Meanwhile, Henry, a little older and mature, quote unquote, and he don't know what he want. Like him, Freddie was in it for the long haul. Like I actually like them not just doing the stereotypical thing of you're with the office hunk who obviously doesn't care anything about anything that's not superficial. Like I like that they were putting in work to make that a serious relationship. Overall, this show just seemed like a little fun thing you do in between projects or while you're doing other projects. Because Gillian was doing Guardians of the Galaxy, so she shaved her head, and so she's wearing a wig in episode 1, and honestly, you can tell. And then in the other episodes, it's very like she was wearing a wig, but apparently it was a wig made from her own hair, so that's cool. It also shows the power of fan campaigns, and it's just my belief that I will forever be 10 toes down on fans utilizing their voices to save shows that clearly deserve to have their stories continue. Like Gillen still gets questions and comments about this show 10 years later. 10 years later. So like they are trying to get it back going. As of now, there's nothing along those lines, but they're trying, and that's honestly why I will never shut up about Sleepy Hollow. But I think, fan campaigning matters. It matters. This show, I really enjoyed. Oh, something else I really enjoyed is Eliza's shirts. She has all these ironic shirts, and I am such a fangirl for ironic shirts, and not like, oh, wine time, I need my coffee. No, I mean like, please cancel my subscription to your issues, or I love sarcasm. It's like punching people in the face, but with words. I actually have those two shirts. Wake me when it's the weekend. Feelings. Like, I love ironic shirts. Like, I ain't gonna hold you that. My heart, right here. So I can now say I remember what the show is, and honestly, a 7.5 out of 10. I really don't think it's as bad. I think shows at least need to be guaranteed 2 seasons, and honestly, let a show grow. Like I said last week, let shows grow through their badness, because honestly, it built up. It didn't always have fan this fandom that would like fight for it. As the show went on, it built up enough that people were like, hey, save this show, that people 10 years later are still talking about wanting to save the show. So it's possible. It's possible. With that, let's get into our third and final segment, college advice from a college graduate, where I give a little piece of college advice that I hope is helpful. This is something that helped me, and I hope that it helps someone else out there. This might seem like common sense, but with the constant pushing of AI, I just want to reiterate, take your education seriously. Can it with the use of AI. Look, I'm back in school for my master's in mass communication, journalism, and my professors are like, don't use AI to write essays. And wow, to even have to say that, like, of course you have to say that, but also kind of pissed me off because, like, you're here. What you mean you're using AI to write your essays and your emails? This is going to come out very judgmental, but maybe some of y'all need to be shamed and judged. Um, I get the cons that some concepts are challenging. I'm not even opposed to Quizlet. I've used it back in the day. Um, but to use AI on every assignment to do all of your work, to write your emails, you're paying to be here. You're paying for that degree that you actually don't know how to use. You can have it, but don't know how to utilize it because you let AI do all the work. And honestly, what the crap is the point in putting yourself in all this huge amount of debt if you're not going to learn how to actually apply the criteria and all of that stuff. Look, I get that it can be hard. I'm not saying that it's not, but please utilize your school's tutoring centers. Do not let that AI do all of your work, especially if you are in the journalism, English, writing business. Because honestly, if you need AI to write your emails and your essays, you should not be here. You should not be here. Take your education seriously. I know the school has failed a lot of people. People just be passing people on so that their school can look good rather than what's best for the student and what their needs are. But like at some point you have to take accountability for your own ignorance, your own downfalls. If you get to college and you cannot read, if you get to college and you cannot write emails, it is up to you to figure out how to do that and not to just continue to push along and play along like you know that you can when you cannot. Education is far too important, and people are determined to take it away and make it harder to get for y'all to be playing these kinds of games. Education is too important. Take your education seriously. I know somebody's gonna say AI is just it'll help you so much. It won't do the work for they'll sell it to you, but go to your tutor centers at your school. The power of the computer right next to you, in front of you, type it in. Type it in. Go read dictionaries. That's what I used to do. When I went to learn some words, I would read dictionaries and I would write it down. Like, take your education seriously. Do not allow AI to do all of your work, especially if you are in the writing, journalism, English business, because why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you putting yourself in debt to not really know how to use your degree? You can say, oh, well, I have it and they're going to hire me because I have it. But if you have it and I say, okay, let's show us what you can do, and you can't show them what you can do, you put yourself in debt for no reason. Please take your education seriously. Please. Do not let the AI do all of your work. Try to learn it on your own. That is a little piece of hopefully helpful college advice from a college graduate and a college graduate that is now back in school for her master's. And that is Kaya's commentary. If you like this episode, hit the thumbs up, leave comments down below. Let me know any of your opinions on any of the segments that I had. Be respectful. We can have a conversation with one another, but only if we are respectful. Thanks for listening and watching. Don't forget to follow on all my social media. See you next time.